Fingal Poetry Festival is about music and poetry, poetry and music in iconic locations. And where better to represent Fingal than this beautiful spot, Baldongan Church. We are going to be live, hopefully, in September, so please check us out on our website for the full program. Tonight we have 3 wonderful local poets and musicians. We have Enda Coyle-Greene, poet, where is she? Tony Curtis, poet and musician, and Bill Haneman, poet in life and musician who will play it for us tonight. So we hope you get a flavor of what this is about, and we'll see you in September. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you Ernestine. I'm delighted to be here at Baldongan tonight in the company of all of you and anyone viewing, and my very good friend Tony Curtis and Bill Haneman. I'm going to read a couple of poems tonight from a sequence called the Blue Album, which is called that because it consists of 11 short poems and an intro, a bit like a record album, but luckily I'm not going to read all of them. The poems are based on songs. Some of the songs would be favourites of mine, others not so much, but the one thing they all have in common is that when I hear them, I always go straight back to a particular moment in time. I begin by reading a summer poem from a time spent listening to bands like The Tubes, etc. So I'm showing my age and you can guess the vintage. None of these poems have titles, by the way. It has no purpose, the frisbee, except to fly between us, while the sea lays down its own persistent riff behind our house. A summer house, essentially concrete, skimmed on cardboard, layered with paint. Snow seeped through the roof in winter, but primed for its element. Fooled by an afternoon in May, we twist, leap, glide. I follow air-sliced arcs into a weightlessness we've set to music. Each game timed to last until we flip the record over, play the other side.
Now, are you going to play? Well, I'll just say something. I better say something because I've been waiting for a year and a half to say something to people, and here I am. One of the great tragedies about COVID was we lost John Prine, who I really loved. He lived out there in Kinvara. He said it was a drinking town with a small fishing problem, which I really liked, you know. And he sings this, the last song he ever recorded is called I Remember Everything. And poetry, I've been writing poetry since I was born. Like I never can remember a time when I wasn't actually doing poetry. It was the only thing I was ever good at. When my granny brought me to the, my granny used to live with us, and she brought me one time. She used to bring me around with her. She used to bring me to old ladies that were dying, and she brought me to the school teacher parents meeting one time. And when the teacher said, "He's very good at poetry," my grandmother thought I was like, that was the end of me. I was finished. I wasn't any good at maths or Irish, English. You know, if I was good at poetry, God help me. And I remember that day on the way home, she brought me to see this dying woman, and the woman said, "How's he doing at school?" "Terrible," the teacher said. "Only today," the teacher said, "he's very good at poetry." "And you know what that means?" "Yes," said the old lady. "He's very like myself, useless at everything." And so memory and my grandmother. When I was a child, my grandmother told me that unlike the sun and the moon, the North Star never moves. "So what does it do?" I asked. "Well," she said, "it hangs around all night like a poet, drinking in the darkness, making its own light for the joy of others, like you and me." So, there you go, memory. My father used to say to me, if you were hung for playing music sung, you'd be hung innocent. And, so this is the last song John Prine recorded and wrote, and it's called I Remember Everything. I've been down this road before. I remember every tree, every single blade of grass holds a special place for me. And I remember every town, every hotel room, every song I ever sang on the guitar out of tune. I remember everything, things I can't forget. The way you turned and smiled on me the night that we first met. And I remember every night your ocean eyes are blue. How I miss you in the morning light, like roses miss the dew. I've been down this road before, alone as I can be, careful not to let my past go sneaking up on me. Got no future in my happiness, no regrets are very few. Sometimes a little tenderness, best that I could do. And I remember everything, things I can't forget. Those summer days of butterflies slipped right through the net. And I remember every night your ocean eyes are blue. I miss you in the morning light, like roses miss the dew. How I miss you in the morning light, like roses miss the dew. Thank you.
What a venue, huh?
Yeah.
I suppose you all mostly know this already, but I think about it. It was a hill fort, then a priory, then the Templars built a fortified church. And when they were suppressed, it passed to the Archbishop of Dublin. And this structure, I'm told, was built in the 15th century with a castle next door. But when the Irish Confederates, after the rebellion of 1641, barricaded themselves in, the Royal Irish Army cannon blew through the wall, and the Confederates surrendered. And then they were all slaughtered, except for 2 priests who were put on the rack.
Vladimir Nestrogin.
Yeah. So that, I understand, was the end of Mass in these 4 walls. But I'm going to play a song that kind of relates to that, or play a tune. Sometimes you can't say things quite directly. Poetry's like that. And it's said that this song was a code. It's called An Reb Tu Agan Carrick. Were you at the rock? Were you at the rock? And did you see my love? Did you see my Valentine? And is she persecuted, as they say? And the response was, yes, I was at the rock, and I saw your love, and no, she's not persecuted, as they say. Which meant that it was safe to go to the Mass Rock and celebrate the Mass in secret, or not, depending on the answer. So, some people say it's not allegorical at all and that it's just a love song. Perhaps.
Tony mentioned John Prine a moment ago. Some of these poems from the Blue album, well, all of them are from songs written after songs that mean a lot to me. But this particular poem is one in case. It's a winter poem, and it is actually by another song by John Prine, from that song. I need my glasses. Uneasy suddenly, driving home too soon. What could I know that music will not soothe? What makes me choose to sing a prayer not meant, but still sent a cappella to pin wings unto an angel set for flight? Tall trees stand sentinel all the way to the cross. Tonight goes by, already scored by absences. No orchestras, no choirs. Inside 2 hours, my mother will have died.
I am an old woman named after my mother. My old man is another child that's grown old. If dreams were lightning, thunder were desire, this old house would have burned down a long time ago. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing I can hold on to believe in this living, such a hard way to go. When I was a young girl, I had me a cowboy. Weren't much to look at, just a free rambling man. And that was a long time. No matter how hard I try, all the memories keep flowing through a broken down dam. Make me an angel, flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing I can hold on to believe in this living, such a hard way to go. There's flies in the kitchen, I can hear them buzzing, but I ain't done nothing since I woke up today. How the hell can a person go to work in the morning, come home in the evening and have nothing to say? Make me an angel, flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing I can hold on to believe in this living, such a hard way to go. To believe in this living, such a hard way to go. When Bill was playing, see, I'm a free-range organic poet, you know. When Enda, who I love, when she started organising this, you know, I can't do. I'm free-range organic. I can't be organised. That's why I've never had a job. I can't do anything. You know, I just am what I am. And anyway, but I was thinking when Bill was playing, I have a poem about uilleann pipes. On my book, I have loads of books, but this book is called Tony Curtis, Approximately in the Key of C. Approximately in the Key of C. And where I got the title for the book, it's a long story. I wrote it for another book. You had to go to a museum in Ireland, look for something that inspired you to write, right? And I went into Dublin, one in Dublin, and I was just full of old things, and nothing fired me up. But I was in the car, flying up to Castlebar one night, and I'm going along the car like this, and I see the Museum of Country Life, and I go into the Museum of Country Life, and it's full of things you can write about, absolutely everything. But the saddest thing in the museum was right down in the basement, down at the lake level, glass, in the middle of the room was a set of uilleann pipes made by the great uilleann pipe maker Michael Egan in 1850. And they were inside a glass case, so they were silent and on display. And above it, some officious civil servant had written, Michael Egan made these pipes in a field in Galway, approximately in the key of C. So I went running back upstairs to the front desk, and I says, is the manager here? And the woman says, no, he stepped out for a cup of tea. I says, you can tell him poet Tony Curtis was here, and he's lucky because I would have kicked him. him and his sign. So I wrote this poem and I sent it back to the Museum of Country Life. And then a while later I got a phone call and a letter from the Uilleann Pipe Museum in Belfast. They had retrieved the pipes from the Museum of Country Life, and the man rang me and he says, we have your poem, and if you ever come to the Pipe Museum, Uilleann Pipe Museum in Belfast, we can take out Michael Egan's pipes and you can hold them. But they're not on display, they're in hibernation. But I prefer that than seeing them just stuck in a glass case. So here's the poem, and I'm going to read this for Bill. Jesus, Bill, I might even give you a copy. You can stick it on your wall. It's called A Blessing on Things Made Well. Michael Egan made a set of uilleann pipes in 1850. Now they lie silent in a glass display case at the Museum of Country Life, under a sign that says, approximately in the key of C. I love the beauty of those words. You can't but admire the care and precision Michael put into making these pipes, as tuned to this life as possible. For isn't everything, if looked at closely, a little off key? Lovers and dancers only a step out, a step away. Talkers on the tips of their tongues, towns at no distance, doors and drinkers slightly ajar. I'd like a copy of that sign to hang on my wall, especially in winter, when the poems are buckled, bent, every one of them approximately in the key of C. C for Curtis.
Well, I said I wasn't going to say anything before my next piece, but I feel I have to now. You folks will think we stitched this thing up beforehand, but we did not. I must tell you, this set of pipes was made by Michael Egan.
Oh, wow.
Was it?
In and around 1840,
Wow.
and they're approximately in the key of D.
Yeah.
For a change.
So,
What's your surname, Bill?
Haneman,
H. I'm sorry.
H, yeah, well, is that not a propitious
It is,
initial?
Herbert. You can go through them all. The great H is Houseman. Yeah.
Right. Well, look at,
Hughes.
Hughes.
I'll play a little something short for you in honor of that.
There's no such thing as a short poem, and there's no such thing as a short piece of music.
Okay.
Okay. It's called, and there's a bit of a connection here to the old angel from Montgomery. It's called The Green Fields of Canada.
My next poem is a lot happier than the one I read before all this. I'm just going to, I'm not going to say very much about it except to say what I always say, which is to extend my deepest apologies to Diana Ross. So, okay. A name they've saved for us is doom and gloom, but I won't dwell on why, or which applies to whom. Instead, I'll backtrack to a day after Christmas, a taxi to the races when those two cousins were our children still. The driver, surly, racked his radio past aloud when it came on, that song, turned on an utterance concerned with nothing and what, if anything, can be done about it, which we hit on the beat. Whoa, 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 but no couplet must be my reply, it seems, this being one line short of a sonnet, and us one sister shy of the Supremes.
Robert Frost says, "Earth's the right place for love. I don't know where it's likely to go better." But you see, I love Robert Frost, Elizabeth Bishop, all these, but I know that Earth's the right place for love, but it's also the right place for sadness, sorrow. And one of the great joys of my life is I get to go to entertain folks in the Central Mental Hospital. Brendan being called the Puzzle Factory. Samuel Beckett said it was the building where the tears of the world are held. Elizabeth Bishop called it the Luna Bin, which I really like. My friend Michael Hartnett always called it the Sentimental Hospital. And one of the nurses one time said to me, "The Sentimental Hospital, that's perfect, just perfect." And a woman there who was in for suicide watch, she had got postnatal depression and killed her baby. And when she got better, she had her on suicide watch. And she asked me to do something for her. And the following week when I was going back, I was bombing down by the Dundrum shopping centre, which is far madder than the Dundrum Sentimental Hospital. And just when I came to the traffic lights under the big, like, harp thing, you know, bicycle wheel bridge, a politician came on the radio. And the politician said, "If the economy keeps going the way it's going, they'll be sending the men in the white suits for us." And the back of my head said to the front of my head, "There speaks a man who has never been inside the walls of an asylum, because you would never compare the economy to somebody whose life is blown to bits sad." And between the red light and the green light, I wrote this poem, under the bridge, sitting there. It's called "Two Faces by a Window." In all the years I've been going to asylums, I've never once seen a white coat. Although there was that time, young Lisa inside for smothering her baby and then slitting her own wrists, asked if next time I was in church, I would light a candle for the infant. I told her I didn't go to church, but I would. And I remember as we sat there, two faces by a window, lost into the ruins of a spent conversation. The grass outside was covered in snowdrops, 1,000 white coats trying to save us from ourselves. Those little poems are the ones you remember, the ones when you're going down the road. I was going down the road one time, and it's probably good to read this in church. It's only a little 4-line poem. And I was bombing along, and I'd been reading this book called All Roads Lead to France, about the life of the great English poet Edward Thomas. Edward Thomas is probably responsible for Robert Frost. And so I was going along in the car, and I'd read the book the day before, and I'm bombing along. Now I'm a recovering Catholic, right? So here I'm going. And I remember that he died on the 9th of April, 1917, and it was an Easter Monday. And you know when you're going along in the car and you're not thinking of anything, just don't crash. And the back of my head said the front of my head, Jesus, he died on the 9th of April, which was Easter Monday. So he was going to heaven from Arras, you know, First World War. He was going to heaven when your man rose from the dead the day before, Easter Sunday. He was coming from heaven. So then in the car, I just said, the morning after Christ rose from the dead, Philip Edward Thomas ascended into heaven from a field in France. They must just have missed each other in the lane. Shadows, though the mud of Arras and the mud of Calvary must have been on their hands and on their boots when they stepped into the light.
Okay, my final poem tonight is comes from a song by the always interesting Tori Amos, and it kind of has a note of optimistic defiance about it, which I think we've all been leaning on a bit this last year and a bit, and we need just a drop more of optimistic defiance. So. On a road that flows past rust-green trees and shallow fields, where small lakes shape-shift in response to rain, I'm singing from a place usually danced to, with my daughter before breakfast, say, or another crazy poet at a metaphoric 4 a.m. I'm singing out of somewhere deeper than the beat my heart gives me no choice except to keep, driving this song's piano cascade chorus with my loudest voice.
What are you going to play, Bill?
Tour d'Homme de Love.
Yeah, wow.
Go to your hand.
Yes.
And it's a lovely little piece written by Ruairi Dál O'Cahan in, they say, 1608. So I like to think that the Barnwells next door might have heard it in their hall. So, and I was thinking, you know, around the time that the harp tradition was dying out, the baton was kind of passed to the pipers on their newfangled instruments. And so this set, I'm going to play you a 400-year-old tune on a 180-year-old set of pipes.
Wow.
Why not?
Wow.
I spent 3 years writing a book about Alcock and Brown and the two lads in the airplane. The song I used to sing during that time was Moon River, two drifters off to see the world, Alcock and Brown. And I wrote the poem because I wrote this poem before I wrote the book. I'll show you the book. Here's the book. This is the plane they flew in. And if you're ever in London and you nothing to do, go to the Science Museum and go to the back of the museum and put your hands on the wings of this plane. It'd be like touching the Titanic or the iceberg, whichever was your preference. You know? And but the other thing it'll do, it'll cure you of any fear of flying. If two lads could cross an ocean in what was really a garden shed, then you're then flying in that thing is. So I used to sing. So what I'll do is I'll say the poem, and it's called Eris Lannan. And then there is the story of the two aviators who landed outside Clifton. But I don't really know it. I just know they were British. One from Old Trafford the other from Glasgow, and their names were John Alcock and Arthur Whitten Brown. And they were either very brave or very foolish. For the way I heard it, they boarded a kite attached to a garden shed, attached to 2 Rolls-Royce engines, and then hurled themselves like Newfoundland geese into the wind. And once they were up, not having a bird's sense, they had to fly their crate through the mouth of St. John's Harbour to be sure they were heading east. They say it took them 16 hours and 27 minutes to cross the 1,980 miles of ocean. And in the frozen night mist, Alcock was often unsure which way was up, and Arthur Brown repeatedly crawled out onto the wings to chip ice off the engines. But I'd say that was nothing to men who just come out of the Great War. 4 years flying over no man's land. Sure, the bright side was, no one was firing at them. I'd say they just held on to the wings and sang. Isn't that what the British do? So here we go, on that clear blue morning, as they swept in off the Atlantic over the wide tossed bed of Erislannon. I wonder what they were thinking. Or was it all just sorrow? 4 years of sadness released by the beauty of Ballyconneely and Inishboffin, by the soft breasts and belly of the mountain, reaching out to feather them down. And that's the story. And then I wrote the book. So the song I used to sing is this song. My mother's 90th birthday, she said to me, bring the guitar, and I brought the guitar, and I was singing songs like you do. And halfway through the party, she says to me, do you not know any songs anybody knows? And I says, which one do you want? And she says, I'd like Moon River. And I says, give me a few minutes. And I took out my phone and I Googled it on the phone. And it's the most beautiful little song. No time to tune up, we're just going to play.
Just go for it.
This is for all the audience and for my two friends here. Moon River, wider than a mile, crossing you in style someday. You heartbreaker, dream maker, wherever you're going, I'm going your way. Two drifters off to see the world. There's such a lot of world to see. We're after the same rainbow's end, waiting round the bend. Huckleberry friend, river and me. Orchestra, ready? Do 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 do. We're after the same rainbow's end, waiting round the bend. My huckleberry friend, river and me. Thank you, Bill. That was fun. Thanks, Graham.